One person is dead and another injured after a shooting inside a Toronto apartment building. Good afternoon. The scene is on Capri Road in the Rathburn and 427 area.
The two victims were found with gunshot wounds on separate floors and one died. CTV's John Musselman is at the scene this hour as the investigation continues. What can you tell us, John?
Well, Michelle, we've heard from some residents who live in the building confirming that this happened over a number of floors, the 14th and the 19th floor. One neighbor reporting hearing a number of shots ring out. We also spoke to a man who says this has really shaken the people who live inside this building. The shooting happened around 5:30 last night at this high-rise building near Rathburn and the East Mall. When police arrived, they found two male victims suffering from gunshot wounds. They were rushed to a hospital in critical condition. One of the victims later died of his injuries. A second victim, believed to be a 19-year-old man, is listed in serious condition.
I can't say if there was a fight or not, but everything's being investigated to figure out what led up to this incident and what occurred.
Investigators say the shooting scene involves several floors in the building. Police won't say if the victims lived in the building.
It gives me like this sick ache in my heart knowing that what's going on in the world, that I can't really do anything and make a point and stand up for people.
I see only like when it's fire alarms start to be like, I think like maybe it's not emergency, like 17, I don't know. And after this, when I see police, after, I don't know, like they just running for the building.
Today we spoke with a resident who lives in the building. He's also the tenant representative. He says the gun violence has shaken the community.
It's quite dramatic. The little kids are scared. They were making comments, oh, last night someone died. You know, some of these kids are 6, 4, 5. My daughter is turning 5 tomorrow. She has an older brother named Jay Sean. He's in the community too. There's a lot of youth in the area and they're affected. 2 young people in the area that they see every day end up getting shot.
Police are looking for at least 2 suspects wearing masks who fled the building. The motive remains under investigation. And the homicide squad is in charge. The homicide squad is in charge of this investigation. We've had no names yet released on the victim here. Leslie says he also told us that one of his best friends was shot and killed outside this building in 2011. So he's really calling on more programs for youth in this area to try to turn things around here. Reporting live, I'm John Musselman. I'll send it back to you.
Thank you, John. Still to come, a birthday on the Ontario election campaign trail, but it's all business for the party leaders, with promises to help those in need. We'll have the details this half hour.
More news in a moment, but first, we take a live look at the city this afternoon. Some lovely sunshine today, but it has been a frigid start to this Wednesday. Jessica Smith is here with the specifics. Definitely a day if you're heading outside to bundle up.
Layers are key, and it's a little deceiving, right? You see the sunshine and you think, oh man, it's probably warmer out there, but it's kind of the opposite when it comes to this time of year. Lots of sunshine, but it is really, really chilly. We're watching for that sun to continue for the first half of the day before cloud cover comes in ahead of a system that rolls in just in time for the morning commute tomorrow. So this is your early heads up. Right now, temperature-wise, the wind chill not so much of a factor in southwestern Ontario. The further east you go, it is a little cooler, and northern Ontario definitely tapping into some really cold and frigid air. As we head in towards the afternoon, things warm up a little, but it is still below seasonal throughout the majority of our day today. Through the islands right now, -5, it feels like -9. Through Pearson, we're looking at -7, feeling like -10. This afternoon, we really don't see too much of a change, so I guess enjoy the sunshine while we have it, because things are set to change pretty dramatically. Coming up, I'll break down your full forecast right now. It's back to Nathan and Michelle.
Thank you, Jess.
Thanks.
Now to U.S. President Donald Trump's suggestion the United States should take control of war-ravaged Gaza.
It marks a radical shift in American foreign policy and could even fly in the face of international law. CTV's Joy Malvin reports.
Protesters greeted Israel's prime minister as he arrived at the White House to meet President Donald Trump.
Everybody's demanding one thing, very simple, peace. And he wants peace also.
Speaking to reporters, Trump suggested 2 million Palestinians should move from Gaza permanently, calling their home a demolition site after months of war between Israel and Hamas.
I would like to see Jordan. I'd like to see Egypt take some look. The Gaza thing has not worked. It's never worked. The whole place is demolished. It's unsafe. It's unsanitary.
Even as hundreds of thousands of Palestinians have returned to Gaza to see what's left, Trump floated the idea that Jordan or Egypt would take all of them. So far, Arab countries have rejected such shocking proposals to resettle an entire population. Trump calls it a humanitarian gesture, insisting Palestinians have no alternative.
The U.S. will take over the Gaza Strip, and we will do a job with it, too. We'll own it.
He has a different idea.
Benjamin Netanyahu praised the idea, facing political pressure back home as war-weary Israelis demand the return of the remaining hostages and an end to the conflict that has cost so many lives. Earlier, Trump signed an executive order to apply what he calls maximum pressure on Iran, more sanctions. His goal?
They cannot have a nuclear weapon. With me, it's very simple. Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon.
And if Iran tries to target him over the U.S. killing of an Iranian general deemed a terrorist in 2020, Trump warned, don't try it.
I've left instructions. If they do it, they get obliterated. There won't be anything left.
A lot of tough talk and a stunning shift in U.S. policy. President Trump says he will do whatever is necessary, not ruling out the military, adding Gaza to the growing list of territories he wants to take over.
At City Hall today, a plan to buy Toronto is at the top of the agenda in a special council meeting.
It's part of the fallout from the tariff threat by U.S. President Donald Trump. Let's bring in CTV City Hall reporter Natalie Johnson for more. Natalie.
Hi, Michelle. Well, just a few minutes ago here, Toronto City Council voted unanimously in a symbolic vote against the notion of Canada becoming the 51st American state. Council outlining its strategy to deal with any Trump tariffs that could still come.
Amid a 30-day reprieve in Trump tariffs, Toronto Council sitting down to strategize on the city's next move.
In the face of economic attack from the United States, even though there's a pause, some of these priorities are more important than ever.
The first part of the plan, implementing a buy local campaign, encouraging residents and businesses to source Canadian goods to push back against the president.
We should be doing this regardless of Trump. I hope that one positive thing that will come out of this whole chaotic chapter is, rather than define ourselves for what we're not, we should celebrate who we are. We are a Canadian community, and we should be supporting our local businesses and entrepreneurs.
City Hall itself has plenty of purchasing power to leverage. Hundreds of millions of dollars in contracts for housing, the TTC, police, and more. The mayor has tasked the city manager with reviewing existing deals and procurement policies.
How much money are we talking about here?
The top bureaucrat telling council today it is not a quick and simple process.
What we're looking at is what is that percentage that is purely from an American perspective, but there's lots of complexity to the issue of procurement and where things are procured.
Staff estimate U.S. goods and services constitute less than 10% of the city's procurement, but the dollar value is still significant when the overall budget is in the billions.
I think we should be further along in our response, and we are going to have to take action as a city to make sure that our businesses stay open and people keep their jobs.
We've got to inoculate ourselves against the next wave of this tariff hysteria, and so we've got to really protect ourselves because they're coming at us again.
The pause in tariffs buying City Hall more time to cross the T's in its strategy. The Toronto tactic, just one battle in a bigger trade war being watched countrywide.
And this all comes in the context of City Hall looking to solidify its own municipal budget for the year ahead. That will happen on Tuesday of next week. The city manager saying that he expects more specific figures on U.S. contracts ahead of that. Reporting live at City Hall, I'm Natalie Johnson. Back to you, Nathan and Michelle.
Thank you, Natalie. U.S. tariffs on Canadian goods have been paused for now, but there is still the very real possibility, and that will be the focus when Justin Trudeau hosts a Canada-U.S. Economic Summit in Toronto on Friday. Participants will include members of the council that is advising the PM on bilateral relations and the tariff threat, as well as Canadian trade and business leaders and representatives from organized labor. They will discuss ways to grow the economy, break down internal trade barriers, and diversify exports. Meanwhile, Trudeau is hosting a virtual meeting right now with the premiers, and with U.S. tariffs still looming, barriers to interprovincial trade in Canada are getting more attention.
The work has already been occurring
and the willingness to reduce interprovincial barriers to trade and add up to $200 billion to the Canadian economy is palpable, and the provinces and territories are at the table with enthusiasm in a way that has not occurred over the past number of decades.
Statistics Canada data shows only 1/3 of Canadian trade takes place between provinces. The barriers include different jurisdictional rules and regulations, and getting rid of red tape could save companies money and add an estimated, as she noted, $200 billion in domestic trade.
The tariff threat is also top of mind in the federal Liberal leadership race.
We need to understand what we can influence. Look, the world is being fundamentally transformed. The old rules-based order is finished, but a new one, a new system has not yet emerged. And Canada should now work with like-minded nations to create a trading system that is consistent with our values and that builds our prosperity. Whether we can influence President Trump is debatable, but I think we can, if we listen to what Americans want and respond in ways that are best for Canada.
And that's former Bank of Canada Governor Mark Carney speaking in Windsor this morning. The leadership candidate also said he would reach Canada's NATO defense spending goal of 2% of the GDP by the end of the decade. He also promised to reverse the government's capital gains tax increase. And CTV's Scott Hirsch joins us live with more on the latest with this Liberal leadership race. Scott, give us a lowdown on the current status of main contenders in this race.
Nathan, good afternoon. We heard from Mark Carney there, as you mentioned, touch on a whole host of topics from NATO spending to the potential threat of Trump tariffs. We've also heard other contenders, top contenders in this Liberal leadership race, notably Chrystia Freeland, also comment on these tariffs, saying Canada is ready to hit back, and Chrystia Freeland saying if you hit us, we will hit back. And so also talking tough on tariffs, as we do have this 30-day reprieve right now. Of course, the front runners, as we've seen in this race to become the next Liberal leader, former Bank of Canada Governor Mark Carney, Chrystia Freeland as well, former Deputy Prime Minister, also former House Leader Karina Gould, former Brampton MP Ruby Dalla, and former Montreal MP Frank Baylis, all in the running to become the next Liberal leader. And there's just a little over a month right now until the Liberals will choose their next leader on March 9th. So not a whole lot of time to pitch their ideas. Of course, many trying to pitch their ideas, but also transition and position themselves as being different than the current Liberal administration and Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, who for many weeks and months now has been really falling in the polls, and the Liberals have been falling in the polls quite significantly to the Conservatives. And of course, when the Liberals do pick a new leader shortly after that, Parliament, as we all know, has been prorogued. It will go back a bit later in March 24th, and it is very likely there will soon be a federal election after that. So whoever does become Liberal leader will then have a tough time and an uphill battle to really push back against the recent polling that has shown the Conservatives really gaining a whole lot of steam for many months now.
And is tariff talk dominating discussions or other issues emerging?
Of course, there are other issues, but right now it really seems to be tariff talk is taking center stage, and it is the threat that is very real right now. When we talk about this Liberal leadership race with the Liberals choosing their new leader on March 9th, and this 30-day reprieve that we did get from the threat of tariffs, well, that will once again rear back in the headlines in early March. So, Nathan, we could be talking about this once again significantly, the very real threat that tariffs could be imposed or potentially already imposed as the Liberals do pick their new leader. So it is not something that any of the Liberal leadership candidates can escape right now, Nathan.
All right, CTV's Scott Hirsch with the latest on the federal Liberal leadership race. Thank you.
Thanks, Nathan.
And Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre announcing a new pledge to crack down on fentanyl traffickers. He says if elected, his government would impose mandatory life sentences for anyone caught producing or distributing more than 40 milligrams of fentanyl. It comes in response to the growing number of opioid deaths in this country and Donald Trump's concerns about fentanyl at the border.
In Sweden, police have not yet said what the motive may have been in yesterday's deadly attack. At least 11 people were killed, including the gunman in the country's worst mass shooting. 5 other people were seriously injured in the attack at an adult education center. Police say the suspect acted alone.
Tributes have been pouring in following the death of the Aga Khan. The Prime Minister offered his condolences yesterday.
His Highness the Aga Khan was an extraordinarily compassionate global leader, a man of vision, of faith, and of incredible generosity. He was passionate about Canada and what we've been able to create here in this country.
Prince Karim Al Husseini was the 49th spiritual leader of the world's 15 million Ismaili Muslims. He was made an honorary companion of the Order of Canada in 2005 and an honorary citizen in 2010. The Aga Khan died yesterday in Lisbon, Portugal, at the age of 88.
To the Ontario election campaign now, with opposition leaders fanning out in campaign stops throughout the day.
NDP leader Mart Stiles says New Democrats can end encampments by providing supports to the homeless. And Liberal leader Bonnie Crombie is promising more supports for people on disability benefits. CTV's Queen's Park Bureau Chief Siobhan Morris has been following the candidates each and every day so far in this campaign. She joins us live with the latest. Siobhan.
Well, we saw those leaders focus on this issue that really has gripped towns big and small right across Ontario. Leaders of those communities say they need more help from the province. So we saw the NDP leader at a facility in Parkdale, flanked by her Toronto candidates today, promising to end encampments with measures like doubling ODSP rates, creating 60,000 new supportive housing spaces, and the province taking over that cost from municipalities. Here's more of what she had to say.
I'll tell you, after 7 long years of Doug Ford, homelessness and encampments have grown and grown and grown. That's Doug Ford's record. That's his legacy. An Ontario that's harder to live in, where people fall into poverty and they just can't get out, where they have to live in a tent because there's nowhere else to go. We can change all that. We can end encampments in our province. And we're right now in an example of a place that works. Park provides supportive housing for people. Park gives people a chance to get off the street and rebuild their lives. And with an Ontario NDP government and a premier, me, that's on your side, we can do this everywhere.
Mart Stiles isn't attaching a dollar figure to those promises she made today. She says that will come later. The NDP has promised a costed platform. The Liberal leader also attaching herself today, making some promises when it comes to homelessness and social services. She started her day in Hamilton campaigning at a local coffee shop. Bonnie Crombie is also celebrating a birthday today, a campaign trail birthday, turning 65.
I'm going to make a wish. Any guesses? Oh,
So a little bit of a celebration after that. Crombie made her own announcement on increasing social supports.
We are very pleased today to announce to you all that the Liberal Party of Ontario will double the ODSP for all those across our province who are using it. And since I know, thank you. And I think it does speak to a health measure as well.
The Greens have also promised to double ODSP rates, or campaigned on that promise. Leader Mike Schreiner is in his home riding of Guelph today. As for the PCs, they have tied ODSP rates to the rate of inflation. Now, right now we are in Pickering, where we're expecting to hear from PC leader Doug Ford in the next hour, where it's expected he'll make an announcement on Highway 407. He is wearing 2 hats today, though, campaigner and also as premier, participating in a meeting between all of Canada's premiers and the Prime Minister focused on Canada-U.S. relations. Reporting live from Pickering, I'm Siobhan Morris. Nathan and Michelle, back to you.
Thank you, Siobhan. New details are emerging from the trial of 2 girls charged in the swarming death of a homeless man in 2022. 2 of the 8 girls charged in the death of 59-year-old Kenneth Lee are currently on trial. The Crown yesterday alleged one of the girls, who was 14 at the time, could be seen in security footage holding a sharp object. The lead detective testified he could not identify the object. The prosecution alleges the girl delivered the blow which killed Lee. The girl's trial is expected to last roughly 2 weeks.
York Regional Police are trying to track down a suspect who abandoned a dog in a park in Georgina. Police have released video of the suspect, the driver of this black pickup truck. The dog was tied to a pool in a park in the area of Lake Drive South and Robert Street on Sunday morning. The animal was then located by a passerby around 8:15 a.m. who notified police. The animal, a 1.5-year-old Cane Corso mix, was taken to the Georgina Animal Shelter and Adoption Center.
The truck is very distinct, as you can see in the video, so we know someone in that area will recognize the truck and are just appealing for any witnesses or anyone with information to contact our investigators up at 3 District. And to the owner, just, do the right thing and contact investigators, talk to legal counsel and notify us so we can put a happy ending to the story.
It's very stressful, and it's very heartbreaking to see, and people do find themselves in terrible situations. So, trying to help find solutions for people who are facing, whether it's homelessness or financial stress, trying to help them find resources. That's what I would be, trying to do.
The Georgina Animal Shelter says the dog does not have any major health concern. She has been named Winter, and the shelter is going to spray and microchip her before putting her up for adoption in the coming weeks. Jess?
A sunny but chilly day ahead of us as we get ready to mark the middle of the week. The cloud cover rolls in, and then the active weather, but temperatures actually go up as we head into the day tomorrow. So as cool as it is today, it is fairly seasonal. We should be around -2 for this time of year. Yesterday, we were pretty much there from start to finish. We're holding on a little cooler as we get throughout the start of our day, but into tomorrow with the messy weather on the way comes a slight warm up. Coming up, I'll have a full look at your long range forecast as we head in towards the end of the week and look ahead to the weekend.
All right, to the forecast, and I'm already thinking, when will all this end? We've got maybe 6 weeks, something like that. But today, another reminder of how cold it can get.
Oh, so cold. But I got to say that sunshine is really nice, especially this time of year when things can be gray. It adds a spring in your step. But I feel like even if you're on the sunny side of the street or not, you're going to be cold.
It's fresh. The good news is today it's not as windy. Yesterday, the wind was doing the most. It was a lot. And then as we made our way through the evening, it started to dissipate. But today, we get the sunshine, but none of the warmth. So if you are spending time outside today, you work outside, you're going to want to layer up. The good news is it warms up tomorrow, but we are looking at a system making its way and bringing a mess for the morning commute. Weather is brought to you by the Presler Law Firm. Injury lawyers, you don't pay unless they win. Now, a beautiful start to the day. Lots of sunshine out there, but it is cold. We're holding on a little below seasonal from start to finish throughout the day today, so keep that in mind. It is going to be a cooler one, but it's not as windy, so it's a bit of a trade-off. As we head into the afternoon and evening, we will see that cloud cover push in, and then as we get into the early morning hours tomorrow, that's when the snow begins. So give yourself time for that drive. Now, temperature-wise, it's cold. We're at -7. It feels like -11. The same through Windsor at -5. Through Ottawa, though, it is frigid, -15, feeling like -22. And our friends in Northern Ontario are still tapping into some really cold Arctic air impacting the prairies. For us here in the GTA and around Southern Ontario, it is a below seasonal day, but the winds are significantly lighter, so it's not that 1-2 punch of really cold temperatures and gusty winds. But right across Southern Ontario, it is a cooler day. Into this evening, we are sitting a little below seasonal when you factor in the wind chill, but we should be sitting around -9 anyways this time of year. So if you don't look at the wind chill, we're pretty close to where we should be, but it will feel quite a bit colder as we head through the overnight and into the start of the day tomorrow. Done with the bulk of the active weather just for today, thanks to a few areas of high pressure that have made their way in, but the system from south of the border is kind of competing with warmer air from the south, colder air to the north. So for the people that are a little bit further into the southwestern corner, they're looking at freezing rain and the likelihood of some mixing. For us in the GTA and anyone north and east of us, it's falling as snow, and the timing is just in time for the drive to work for a lot of people. So give yourself time, whether you're commuting through transit or you're driving or walking. As we head through the rest of our day today, again, it's just a little cloud cover. We start in towards the day tomorrow, and that messy mix comes just in time for the drive for a lot of people, but the bulk of it is gone by about 11 a.m., and then we're just left with cloud cover and the chance of maybe some light flurries into the early evening. We step in towards our Friday. We get a break from some of the snow. We're looking at a little bit of sunshine in the GTA, some streamers off of Lake Huron and Georgia Georgian Bay. And then as we make our way in towards our Friday afternoon, Friday evening, we're just holding on to mostly cloud cover. So again, it is below seasonal for a good portion of the day today. We get above seasonal into the day tomorrow. And then stepping into the weekend, a little bit of sunshine comes through, but we're not done with the chance of active weather. Into the beginning of next week, we return to a more seasonal forecast, but that unsettled weather we've been dealing with isn't going anywhere. Michelle and Nathan, I'll send it back to you.
All right. Thank you, Jess.
Thanks.
Well, a body-worn camera captured a dramatic rescue after a boy fell through the ice on a lake in West Long Branch, New Jersey. A police officer was seen trudging through the frigid water to get to the 11-year-old boy at Franklin Lake. Officials say the ice on the lake was only about 7 centimeters thick, and the water temperature was about 2 degrees Celsius. The boy was pulled from the water and rushed to hospital, but is now recovering at home.
And an interesting story coming out of southern Ontario, where a graffiti-covered wall is gaining a lot of attention. But as CTV's Scott Miller tells us, this is no ordinary wall.
It's back. A 12-foot-high snowdrift along Bruce Road 1 near Paisley has returned after a decade-long hiatus.
It's been a while since you've seen any of this around here.
It's been 11 years since there's been enough snow to create this now famous wall of snow near Paisley. The last time was during the 2014 Winter Olympics, when locals turned the huge drift of snow into a pro-Canadian billboard. Fast forward to this winter, and Paisley's snow billboard is once again being used for Canadiana, with the words "Canada's Wall" and "Tariff This" spray painted into the snow. A reference to Trump's planned tariff war on Canada, no doubt. Now, most of the spray-painted messages are more personal in nature, like couples etching their initials into a tree to declare their eternal love. The pure spectacle has attracted those looking to leave their mark and just those that want a picture with Paisley's snow billboard.
We're from Walkerton, and we just figured we'd come take a picture with the high banks. It's not every winter we get to see this, so we figured we'd take the opportunity and sled out and get some pictures.
The cold weather has returned, which means Paisley's snow wall isn't likely going anywhere anytime soon. In Paisley, Scott Miller, CTV News.
Still to come, customers left empty-handed amid a popular promotion. They have the coupons for free pots and pans, but they are nowhere to be found. CTV's Pat Foran has a consumer alert.
Grocery prices have increased steadily over the years, and it's expected food prices will rise again by another 3 to 5%.
Many shoppers are looking for ways to save money, and that includes taking part in promotions for discounts. CTV's Pat Foran reports on one situation involving cookware.
It was a waste of my time and money, apparently.
Kathy Toll of Toronto took part in the Loblaw cookware program. Starting in October, for every $20 spent on groceries, you receive a stamp. And once you have 20 stamps, you can get a pot or a pan for 75% off. But Toll says when she went to pick out an item, there were none to be found.
I finally collected my 20 stamps and took them in to redeem them, and they were sold out of every piece of cookware.
She noticed on social media platforms there were many other frustrated customers complaining they couldn't get the cookware either.
I feel cheated.
I feel like we've been taken advantage of as consumers.
Gina Vivian of Etobicoke says she spent almost $3,000 on groceries and collected 149 stamps. Despite trying for over a month, she's been unable to redeem the stamps for a single piece of cookware.
I've gone to 2 Loblawses, 3 No Frills, and 1 Value Mart, and all across the board, they do not have these pots and pans.
When we reached out to Loblaw, they said it was a very popular promotion and that despite restocking multiple times, we know some customers are still looking for that perfect pan. We've ordered more of the most popular items, which will be available to customers until supplies run out.
When something goes wrong, people notice.
Those who monitor the grocery industry say Loblaw should do something to keep customers customers who collected the stamps happy, either by providing the cookware, vouchers, or something else.
And that PC program is a very strong program. But if you annoy people, they'll walk away. So you want to make sure that you address some of these shortcomings.
The program ends February 20th. Customers worry they'll be left with worthless stamp cards.
I don't care if I don't get my frying pan. I'll find one somewhere else. It's not about that. It's about being sucked into a promotion and then the company not fulfilling their end of the bargain.
Pat Foran, CTV News.
In Whitby, a piece of stolen art from a local art gallery will soon be back on exhibit. As CTV's Rahim Ladani reports, it was tracked down thanks to eagle-eyed residents in the Durham community.
Through these doors and inside Station Gallery in Whitby are countless pieces of art. But it was this headless female figure made of serpentine stone, titled Joy, which caught the eye of an art thief. Surveillance video from January 9th shows a man walk up to the sculpture and put the 50-pound bust under his orange and yellow safety jacket before walking away.
Sick to my stomach.
Natasha Downs gave the man a tour of the gallery when he first walked in and says he didn't seem out of the ordinary.
The questions he had were similar to questions that people have all the time when they walk through our gallery. So it's hard for us to, to tell if somebody has good intentions or not.
After noticing the sculpture was missing the next day, she filed a police report, then took to social media asking for help, and the Durham community answered her call.
People who knew exactly who the individual was, people who had seen the individual with the sculpture.
Thanks to local tips, the Durham police were able to track down both the suspect and the sculpture, which, other than a few scuffs, was in good condition. The artist, Tamarika Stongway, decided not to press charges and instead is bringing the sculpture back to Station Gallery this Thursday for a celebration of joy.
In honor of that, brought together a certificate of recognition. So this is issued to the friends of the Station Gallery, the people that put the effort in and provided the tips to recover the stolen art.
The gallery is now investing in higher security, from guards to pressure sensors. Meantime, the attention since the theft has brought in many first-time visitors.
We're doing some outreach and promotion to as many members of the Whitby and broader community as possible to come down to the Station Gallery, see the great art that we have here, see the stolen art, see the return of joy.
Turning a troubling situation into a joyous experience. Rahim Ladani, CTV News.
Well, fresh off his surprise performance at the Grammys, The Weeknd is out with a first look at his new feature film. The musical thriller shares a title with the Toronto singer's new album, Hurry Up Tomorrow. The Weeknd plays a version of himself with Barry Keoghan and Jenny Ortega co-starring. The film hits theaters in May. This morning, fans got their first chance to try and snag tickets to The Weeknd's concerts at the Rogers Centre this summer. And just yesterday, he added a third show on August 7th, with sales to the general public starting Friday.
The official trailer is out for a retooling of the Jurassic Park franchise, starring Scarlett Johansson and Jonathan Bailey.
We put ourselves in a place we don't belong. Survival is a long shot.
Bailey plays a paleontologist, while Johansson plays a covert operations expert. They team up to try and secure genetic material from dinosaurs in the original Jurassic Park, as seen in the 1993 film. In typical franchise fashion, not everything goes to plan. Jurassic World Rebirth comes out July 2nd.
The White House Correspondents Association has chosen comedian Amber Ruffin to headline its annual dinner event.
Steph, I had the craziest dream. Trump got reelected.
Yeah, it was real. Amber!
What?
Trump won and you have to do...
Ruffin writes and appears on Late Night with Seth Meyers. The WHCA says she was chosen for her ability to walk the line between blistering commentary and humor. It's not clear if Trump intends to attend the dinner. Now, he skipped the annual gathering of journalists, politicians, and celebrities during his first term.
Still to come on CTV News at noon, Buy Canadian may be a patriotic pledge, but sticking to a strict Buy Canadian plan is complicated. We'll have those details after the break.
Get Toronto's top stories, breaking news alerts, and watch live. Download the CTV News app.
Cross-border trade is in full swing following the delay of those U.S. tariffs.
The truckers expressing some relief on the road. CTV Sean Leathon spoke with drivers responsible for transporting goods between Canada and the U.S.
With trucks making their way into the United States the day after a trade war was put on hold, drivers at the Queenston-Lewiston Bridge are expressing some relief.
Well, I think that's good. Hopefully they can sit down together and come up with some type of a amicable agreement that benefits everybody.
It's good for now, but, you know, once they come off pause, it's really going to screw up this industry.
I think it's all nonsense, to tell you the truth.
Filling up just down the road before crossing into the U.S., Tom DeWonkis is headed to Connecticut. He says Canadian and American workers are more connected than politicians may think.
I bought one of those hats, says Canada's not for sale. And I was in the shipping department down in Connecticut, and all the guys started laughing at my hat, and they were coming up and shaking my hands. I mean, they agree. The common American person agrees that this is just utter nonsense.
DeWonka says he wasn't worried yesterday, believing this was all just bargaining.
We're doing a couple of $1 billion a day across the bridges. I just can't see that, you know, slowing down.
Elsewhere, this driver says his shipment of Lululemon clothes was denied because some of the items were from China.
You think you're going to get through?
Maybe. It depends. We took out the products of China, so now let's see what's going to happen next.
As products from China were hit with a 10% tariff, while Canada and Mexico have a 30-day reprieve.
I think that it might give Canadians a push to actually get more Canadian jobs, make more things for Canada.
I think it'll go to the end again. I think we'll be at day 29 and a half, and they'll start, you know, flexing or whatever. You know, you never know.
And while many drivers we spoke to today said that cross-border trade is too big to slow down, they do remain concerned over this newfound instability. Sean Leathon, CTV News.
We've heard on a number of fronts about the patriotic push for consumers to boycott American goods.
But a strictly buy Canadian approach could prove to be complicated. CTV's Adrian Gabriel tells us why.
Canada has had a pretty sweet arrangement with American beverage brands who've chosen to produce and bottle their product on Canadian soil for Canadian consumers.
The soft drink industry is almost exclusively made here in Canada. The snacks business is almost exclusively made here in Canada.
Though with Trump's tariff threats, a push to buy Canadian has taken hold. Lists like this have been widely shared on social media, outlining American brands to avoid at the grocery store. Though many of the American products listed are actually made in Canada by Canadians.
We need these plants. We need the capital investment.
If we were to only buy Canadian brands exclusively, what could be the outcome?
Loss of jobs, an impact on our agricultural community because they are not going to have a market to sell their goods to.
There's a lengthy list of American brands produced in Canada employing Canadians. Just two examples include Kraft peanut butter and Lay's potato chips. It's something that's now top of mind for many shoppers.
I'd probably buy Canadian when I could.
I'm going to make more of an effort to buy Canadian, but I would support a company that employs Canadians.
To the consumer, do your research, read the labels if you wish, but make an informed decision and not an emotional decision.
Adrian Gabriel, CTV News.
Meanwhile, Parks Canada is backtracking on a directive it sent out this week encouraging employees to purchase office and other supplies from Amazon. CTV's partners at Nouveau Info exclusively reported news of the original directive sent to employees by email on Monday. A spokesperson now confirms to CTV that the email quote, missed the mark, and its timing and substance was not sensitive to the current dynamics and does not meet the public's expectations. It added Parks Canada was rescinding the directive immediately and letting employees know.
The Toronto Regional Real Estate Board is expecting a more active 2025 for home sales compared to last year. The board is forecasting around 76,000 home sales by year's end. That would mark a 12% jump from 2024. Today's report says a mix of lower borrowing costs and ample supply will improve affordability and get buyers off the sidelines. January's home sales signaled that increase in homes on the market. There were around 3,800 transactions, down from last year, But there were more than 12,000 new listings, a year-over-year increase of 48.6%. The average sale price in the GTA was $1.04 million.
Coming up, a little girl's daily struggle with a prosthetic limbs has become a little easier with a doll that looks just like her. We'll have that story right after this short break.
Mervish Productions has released its list of upcoming productions for the 2025-2026 season.
And Toronto audiences will be treated to some of the best of Broadway. CTV's Andrea Case has the lineup.
It has been almost 16 years since Michael Jackson died, but his musical legacy lives on. MJ the Musical looks at the pivotal moment when Jackson was creating his 1992 Dangerous Concert Tour. The four-time Tony Award winner will open the season in September.
My loneliness is killing me. Juliet plunges Romeo's dagger into her heart.
What if Juliet didn't die? That should almost be the start of the play.
Returning to the Toronto stage, and Juliet, a new take on the Shakespeare play Romeo and Juliet with a trail of hits written by Max Martin and friends. And Juliet opens in December. Running from the mob, two musicians hop a train and their lives are changed forever. That's the story you'll find in Some Like It Hot. This production won 4 Tony Awards and more other theater awards than any show in its season. Toronto audiences will have to wait for February of next year for this show to bring the heat. Ever wonder how Neil Diamond became a musical force? You'll find out when the Canadian premiere of A Beautiful Noise, the Neil Diamond musical, rolls into town in April 2026.
When I stepped out into the bright sunlight from the darkness of the movie house.
And a childhood favorite won hearts on Broadway this past season, and now the Canadian premiere of The Outsiders, a new musical, is coming to Toronto. The winner of 4 Tony Awards, including Best Musical. It opens June 2026. Andrea Case, CTV News, Toronto.
A little girl living with a disability has received a very special gift, a doll made in her image.
As CTV's Scott Lightfoot reports, the doll is helping her adjust to the world.
Amidst the chaos of this room full of kids is a little girl who's facing some very big challenges.
Funky little girl, a lot of spunk.
Her name is Shoshana. She's just under 2 years old, and like most children her age, she's learning how her body works. But Shoshana's body is different than many of those around her.
She uses 2 prosthetics.
Which means she's not just learning how to sit, stand, walk, and kick, but she's doing so with artificial legs.
At first, she wouldn't put them on. So even within the first couple of weeks, she would start asking for her leggies and was more comfortable putting them on.
Knowing Shoshana loves dolls, staff at Kayla's Children's Center in Vaughan decided to enlist the services of A Step Ahead Prosthetics, a U.S. company that takes American Girl dolls and outfits them with prosthetics similar to the child. Now Shoshana and Baby are inseparable.
It's life-changing. Before she got the doll, she was already warming up to the idea of, you know, her being different and her having to work a little bit harder to do the things that normal kids do. But when she got the doll, you could see that she was happier to do it, that she wanted to do it. And it just means everything.
Good job, baby. Good.
Part of what she's doing with Baby is watching and learning. The doll takes part in and helps demonstrate many of Shoshana's physiotherapy exercises.
I see in her eyes that she gets it, right? And that she gets that the doll looks like her. The other toys don't.
Together, the pair work on balance and mobility, both things that have improved since the arrival of Baby.
The children learn through play. It teaches them about themselves, it teaches them about their environment. So I think it really nurtures her emotionally that there's this beautiful doll that's perfect, just like she's perfect.
Her family is so happy with how happy she is. It's so obvious how happy she is when she's playing with Baby.
And whether she's playing or learning, Shoshana now has someone similar by her side as she navigates life with artificial limbs.
For her to have one that looks like her, that represents her, and one that she can call her own, it is a dream come true.
Scott Lightfoot, CTV News.
Beautiful idea and a great story.
They are the cutest pair. And Shoshana is a doll. She's a living doll. Just gorgeous. Okay, weather-wise, bring us up to speed. It's going to get a little bit warmer, hopefully.
It's a trade-off. So we lose the sunshine into the day tomorrow, but we do climb back above seasonal. So we'll see a daytime high right around 2 degrees into the day tomorrow, but we're watching a system coming up from south of the border, kind of battling between the warmer air south of us and the colder air north of us, bringing a messy mix for most across southern Ontario. So today, enjoy the sunshine, although it is cool sunshine. -7 feels like -11 here in the city. Colder still through Kingston, through Ottawa, and up towards Bancroft as well. If you're heading out for a walk this afternoon, it's not bad if you're layered accordingly because we have quite a light wind. Heading into the day tomorrow, that snow, that mixing for some in southwestern Ontario is right at that commute time for a lot of people between 6 a.m. to about noon, so give yourself some time.
Good advice. Thank you, Jess. And that is CTV News at noon. Remember, you can get Toronto's breaking news all day long on CP24 and at ctvnewstoronto.ca.
For Jess Smith and the whole team here, have a pleasant afternoon. I'm Michelle Dubé.
And I'm Nathan Downer. Be sure to join us later for CTV News at 5 and 6.